Good morning. Today we're going to continue the study of Nehemiah in the 6 things that we can see in the first 6 chapters of the book about how to get things done for the Lord. Now, if you remember yesterday in chapter 1, we talked about the first thing, and it is pray. The first thing that you can do to the Lord to get things done for the Lord is bathe it in prayer first. Get direction from the Lord. Today we're going to see the second thing, starting in Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 1. In the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when wine was before him, I took up the wine and gave it to the king. Now I had not been sad in his presence. And the king said to me, "Why is your face sad, seeing you are not sick? This is nothing but sadness in your heart." Then I was very much afraid. I said to the king, "Let the king live forever. Why should not my face be sad when the city, the place of my father's graves, lies in ruin, and its gates have been destroyed by fire?" Then the king said to me, "What are you requesting?" So I prayed to the God of heaven. So we see here that the first thing you want to do is pray. The second thing is that you want to announce the goal. He does this in chapter 4. Verse 4 of chapter 2. The king asks why he's sad. I mean, he's very visibly sad, apparently, if the king can see it. And so he says, "Why are you sad?" And then he says, the place of my father's graves lies in ruin, and the gates have been destroyed by fire. So, if it pleases the king, if your servant has found favor in your sight, I want to go and rebuild it. He wants to rebuild the city. That's the stated goal. He's telling not just himself, but he's telling other people. This is important because a lot of times we say to ourselves, "I'm going to get up and exercise in the morning." But we don't tell anybody. So when we don't do it, nobody's there to hold us accountable. When you make a public declaration of your goals, it's a lot harder to not do them because you're afraid somebody's going to come up to you later and be like, "Didn't you say you were going to do this thing?" Yeah, it's embarrassing when you don't. Other people are going to hold you accountable. Peer pressure doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be a good thing, and in this case, it is. We should state our goals publicly about the things that we want to do for the Lord. Next, he's going to keep going. Well, the Lord provided the opportunity, right? The king was drinking. Because he's the cupbearer, he's there. That's why he's there when the king is drinking. The king's drinking wine. The cupbearer would take a sip first, make sure it wasn't poisoned. What a job. So the Lord provided the opportunity, but also he provided the favor. You see in verse 5, I said to the king, "If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in your sight, then you send me to Judah, to the city of my father's graves, that I may rebuild it." And the king said to me, the queen sitting beside him, "How long will you be gone? And when will you return?" So it pleased the king to send me, and I had given him a time. So again, we see that he had favor in the sight of the king. So the Lord provided the favor and the opportunity to get this thing done. The thing that the Lord laid on his heart, he committed that thing to the Lord, and now he announced it publicly. I'm going to do this thing. Continuing in verse 7, it says, "And I said to the king, if it pleases the king, let letters be given me to the governors of the province beyond the river, that they may let me pass through until I come to Judah. And a letter to Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the fortress of the temple, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall occupy. And the king granted me what I asked, for the good hand of my God was upon me." So here is just it's one of those parts of the Bible where we would check out. We're like, what does any of this mean? But actually, this is very important to our story because you see, he's about to take a 3-month journey from where he is to get to Judah to rebuild this city. And so as he's passing through this area, he's going to need papers to prove that he is who he says he is, and he has the right to go do the thing that he's going to do. So the king has given him papers for travel, but he's also given him papers to get timber from the forest. Wood was a very protected resource in this time, so much so that you could be killed if you chopped down a tree for lumber without the king's permission. So the fact that the king gave him papers that gave him access to the forest and to travel shows that he has the king's blessing. Why is this important? Because when he had the opportunity, the king said, "What do you want?" Immediately he had an answer. And he had already thought through the practical implications of, how do I get this thing done? I'm going to need papers. I'm going to need to travel. I'm going to need access to lumber. He had already thought through all of these things. So when the king gave him the opportunity, boom, here is what I need. So what can we learn from this? We need to be prepared for the opportunity to do the thing that the Lord has laid on our heart to do. It's not just enough to pray and then assume that everything's going to fall in place. No, we need to work like it's our job and only our job to get it done, and then pray like it only relies on God. I need to pray like He's the only one doing it, but I need to work like I'm the only one doing it, and then we're giving our best to the Lord on both sides. I loved this quote from Ashton Kutcher. I mean, it was a long time ago now, but he was like giving an acceptance speech for the Teen Choice Awards or something. And he said, "I believe that opportunity looks a lot like hard work." And that's true. We get opportunities in life, but if you're not prepared for those opportunities, then you miss out. And so I think the more hard work we put in, the better chance we have to take advantage of the opportunities that God's going to put in our lives. So whatever that thing is that you feel passionate about, that thing that God has laid on your heart that you want to see come to pass, you need to prepare your best to get that thing done, so when the opportunity presents itself, you know that that opportunity and that favor is from the Lord, and you're ready to do the things that He's asked you to do. So finally, does he take credit for all of the hard work that he's put in? No. He ends this section by saying, "And the king granted me what I asked, because the good hand of my God was upon me." So the only reason the king agreed, it wasn't because of my hard work. The only reason he agreed was because the good favor of God's hand was upon me. All the glory goes back to God. All right. I look forward to the next section where Nehemiah inspects Jerusalem's walls. Nothing like a good wall inspection to look forward to tomorrow. The Lord be with you today.